Progressive Voices' Jon Sinton has written a continuing series called A Turning Point that touches on politics, culture, and media. You can hear the short essays in the on-demand section of progressivevoices.com and on the PV app.
For Progressive Voices, I'm Jon Sinton, and this is A Turning Point. Today, scolded but not chastened. My dad had an apt retort to the expression that ignorance is bliss. He said, too bad it's not expensive. In two instances of willfully ignorant behavior and one of just plain cruelty, the kind most likely found on the middle school playground, our vice president, our acting deputy attorney general, and our resident bullying billionaire, no, not the president, the other bullying billionaire, disgraced themselves this past week and were appropriately scolded, but they were not chastened. Let's begin with the vice president who, incongruently with his immigrant bride on his arm, lectured elected German officials who I'm sure were happy to get a democracy lesson from a guy who's been in public life for 2 whole years and favors authoritarian rule over said democracy. He told them that immigrants would be the downfall of their country and that they're a greater threat than Russia or China. So J.D. Vance is saying that the enemy within is more threatening than the enemy without. Climate change, war, brutal dictators, and the hope for a better life have brought immigrants from the global south, which is to say black and brown people, to Europe. And although this guy wouldn't know irony if it joined the men's shaver club with him, he is, ironically, married to a brown immigrant. I'd love to hear how he squares that circle. He very publicly snubbed the chancellor, met with representatives from the far-right Alternative for Germany party, and they more closely align with Germany's Nazi past than the democratically elected government in Berlin. Except for their anti-immigrant stance, AfD is generally reviled after trying for decades to gain a foothold in German society. The nature of minority parties is that they are often there just to promote a single issue, and the mainstream usually usurps them by adding their issue in some measure to the larger platform, and that's what's been happening in Germany. Having the vice president of the U.S. stiff the formal government in favor of meeting with AfD has given them renewed currency. It so upended 80 years of order that it sent shivers down Europe's collective spine. Add this blatantly destabilizing action to the fact that we have shunned our long-standing partners in order to cozy up to Russia, and in an instant the old world has gone. On the domestic front, Emil Bove, that's Donald Trump's former personal lawyer who is now the unqualified acting assistant attorney general, disgraced himself and his office when he chose to demean conservative rising star Daniel Sassoon, the newly appointed U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. Ms. Sassoon chose to resign in protest rather than dismissing criminal charges against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. That is the time-honored and appropriate thing for a government official to do when she can't agree with policy. Apparently unfamiliar with protocol, Bove took it upon himself to demean her quite publicly and threaten her with legal action on what grounds I can't imagine. To assume that you are so powerful and so righteous as to be beyond reproach is dangerously ignorant. Emil Bove is not Donald Trump, but he has the Donald's appetite for insult and derision, a hallmark of this administration. By going after his star attorney for being principled, he earned the wrath of conservatives everywhere, including the Wall Street Journal editorial board, who really let him have it. Ms. Sassoon clerked for Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, and she came out smelling like a rose. Mr. Bove was less smelling like the manure used to grow that rose. Finally, on the tone-deaf billionaire front, we have Elon Musk using his X platform to insult a blind man. You think I'm making this up? Here's the headline. Musk takes break from ruining America to mock blind person. And from the story, it all started when the thin-skinned South African entrepreneur had a man-baby meltdown after blind government watchdog Dylan Hetler-Gaudet committed the sin of testifying to Congress about waste in Musk's precious Doge program. And rather than addressing the actual criticism, Musk went full mean girl, unleashing his army of reply guys and basement-dwelling lords to cyberbully a literal blind person. I can think of no good reason for this behavior, except that Donald Trump, who is the leader, assumes that everyone under him will assume the same adolescent behavior. The worst part is that this is only the beginning. We are in the process of becoming the Western world's pariah. We hold peace talks concerning Ukraine with Russia, but not Ukraine, who, according to the president, started the war. Again, a very tough circle to square, since the entire world knows that that is a lie. We've insulted our closest allies and sullied our reputation. Perhaps, if only ignorance were expensive. For Progressive Voices, I'm Jon Sinton.
As the PV audience has grown, so have our bandwidth costs. We've tried to protect the limited commercial nature of the stream, so to keep up with the costs, we need your help. You might say we're victims of our own success. With nearly 1 million regular listeners now, the cost of operating the stream has grown beyond our wildest expectations. If you want to continue enjoying all the great shows on the free mobile Progressive Voices platform, please pitch in now. Go to progressivevoices.com and press the donate button.
PV brings you the best progressive audio and video in one free stream. Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, Randy Rhodes, David Packman, Brad Friedman, and more. Search Progressive Voices on the TuneIn app, download the free Progressive Voices app, or go to progressivevoices.com.